Thank you so much for joining. We just wanted to hear a little extra music to get started today. We're so happy that you're here to join us for strategies for ELA education and instruction. You're going to get a chance to hear from real teachers in real classrooms using real strategies with Newsela. Before we dive in, I'd love to get a pulse check as to where we're at with our familiarity with Newsela ELA. So go ahead and write directly in the chat the correlating number to your familiarity. If you're new to Newsela, type in a 1. If you've logged in and explored the platform, type 2. If you've created assignments on Newsela, you can write a 3. And if you're a Newsela certified educator, go ahead and flaunt it in the chat with a 4. Awesome. Thank you so much for participating. I'm seeing numbers across the board, lots of 2s, 3s, some 1s, and 5s. Oh, amazing. And I'm so happy to hear you're introducing yourself as well, becoming part of our community. You're all in the right place because you're going to get to expand on your understanding of Newsela by hearing from real teachers. My name is Cara, and I am a customer marketing and engagement manager here at Newsela. I'm a former educator myself. I taught 4th grade special ed, and one of my favorite parts of Newsela is how it really supports diverse learners. So if you teach multilingual students, students with disabilities, and more, Newsela is here for everyone, and you're going to get a chance to hear from teachers on how they use Newsela in a variety of ways. Before we hear from teachers, I'm going to give a quick overview of Newsela ELA, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So, Newsela ELA has a variety of content-rich literacy instruction that drives meaningful student outcomes. We have so many articles that are relevant for students, as well as collections, which you may hear a few times today in this session. These collections hold a variety of articles, videos, and other resources based on unit or topic. One of our favorite collections here on Newsela is our novel and book studies. We supplement over 500 of the most commonly taught books with information and background knowledge. Another one of our favorite collections is our curriculum complements. You're going to hear from our teachers today on how they use these, but do know that we have supplemental resources to EL education, HMH, SAVIS, and more too. We also have a variety of scaffolded activities. You'll also get a chance to hear from teachers directly to promote vocabulary, promote close reading skills, and more. There's also real-time reports in our reading skills section so you can track data as you teach. Right on the home page, you can scroll down and get recommended resources like those that are shown here in this image. We also have a reading challenge that you can gamify learning with your students to really keep things excited. Quick overview of the home page. When you scroll down after logging in, you'll see a variety of resources, including the reading challenge I mentioned. There's a couple different ways to search for materials. One is in our search bar on the top left, where you can use filters to ensure that you're meeting your students where they're at. Another is clicking on the subject ELA. That's where you can find these collections that are filled with resources, and you can live in these collections, some of them all year, because they're organized by unit, or in this case, in our reading skills check, by grade level. You'll see a variety of articles to really gauge where your students are at with quizzes and lesson sparks with ideas on how to teach on the right. And you can create an assignment easily. There's a lot of different ways on how to use Newsela in the classroom. Here are just a few, but you're going to hear practical tips from teachers as well, with exact examples of how they're using Newsela in their classrooms. Just a couple things to note before I talk about efficacy and introduce the teachers. One way of using Newsela is using it for independent practice, like with our write prompts or quizzes. Another is in small groups where students can work together, watch videos, discuss, and respond. And you can also use Newsela in whole class instruction by using curriculum complements, for example. Now, you might ask yourself, okay, why Newsela? I know there's a lot of tools, but the evidence shows Newsela is the best. Students who read and take quizzes twice per week see 4 additional months of literacy skill growth by the end of the school year. So when you're thinking about how to implement Newsela into your classroom, one way to think about it is to teach students to find articles or to assign articles and take quizzes just twice a week, and that can lead to such significant growth. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm so excited to now introduce our teacher speakers so you can hear directly from them. First, you're going to get a chance to hear from Juvie Mohares. She is an 8th grade teacher, and one of her favorite parts of Newsela is how the content is really culturally responsive. I know that will connect with a lot of you as well. Then you're going to hear from Zaretta Sanders Howard. She's not only an ELA instructional coach, she's also a Newsela certified educator and a Newsela community coach. You'll get a wealth of knowledge listening to her. And last but not least, we have Madison Geiger. She's a 6th grade teacher, and you are in such luck listening to her because she's going to share with you our Newsela ELA add-on, Newsela Writing. To quote her, and you'll hear from her shortly, she said, "Newsela Writing changed my life." I'm so excited to see how Newsela Writing and Newsela ELA can change yours too. I'm now going to go ahead and pass the baton over to Juvie. Thank you so much, and I'm so excited for you all to hear from her directly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Juvie Mohares from Somerton Middle School, and I'm so excited to share how I use Newsela to meet my students where they are, both academically and culturally. So as a middle school ELA teacher with a majority Hispanic student population, I have found that engagement truly begins when students feel seen in the content they read. Newsela's diverse and culturally relevant texts empower my students to make meaningful connections to what they're reading. My favorite article from Newsela is about Cacha Echazareta, the first Mexican-born woman to fly to space. This is amazing text. This is so powerful, inspiring my students by sharing her journey and encouraging them to pursue their dreams in science and technology. Her message was clear, emphasizing the importance of representation and her commitment to ensuring that more young Latinas follow in her footsteps. So whether we're diving into heritage stories, bilingual content, or real-world news topics that reflect their lives and communities, Newsela sparks rich conversations and deeper comprehension. So it's not just about reading, it's about reading content that resonates, that invites students in, and tells them their story matters. To take our learning further, I use a mix of Newsela built-in activities and my own materials. The key here is flexibility. Another good thing about Newsela. For example, in the article about Katja I mentioned earlier, I created a graphic organizer to deep dive into the standard we focus on that day, RI.2, which is determining the central idea of the text and analyzing the development over the course of the text. How do we do that? By first identifying the main idea of the subsection or the paragraph, and then part of the standard is writing an objective summary. I also use that text organizer or graphic organizer for determining author's purpose or RI.6. Also, I regularly refer back to Newsela text to challenge student thinking. Whether we're determining main idea, RI.2, analyzing an author's argument, RI.8, or exploring tone and perspective, RI.6, these texts become our anchor. And my absolute favorite Newsela feature? Annotations. Believe me, I really love this feature. I use them a lot in so many ways, to model close reading, to embed guiding questions, and even prompt student reflections at the end of our reading. Students engage more deeply because the thinking is right there in the text. It's a living, evolving conversation. With these tools, every reading becomes an opportunity not just to understand, but to think critically and communicate clearly. Looking ahead, as a Newsela certified educator and ISTE certified educator, I'm excited to pair Newsela with AI tools to personalize learning even further. I use AI to differentiate instruction, suggest extension activities, and also to co-plan creative ways to deepen my students' comprehension. We use AI and Newsela to bring in engaging, fun, and student-approved content. We also explore high-interest, real-world issues like the global rights of social media, which helps our students build literacy and civic awareness. And when we teach text structure, RI.5, we're not stuck with boring examples because Newsela has a lot of topics that our students can relate to. So Newsela offers also science-oriented text. So we can integrate science into our ELA classroom, and that's what I do in my classroom. We can create personalized lessons for our students. For example, using a text about dinosaur, as you can see from my screen, I created a lesson plan for identifying the main idea, RI.2, and I name it, Tell Me the Main Idea, Dinosaur, as if my students are talking to real dinosaurs. So most importantly, Newsela culturally reflective content continues to boost student connection and class discussion, because when students see themselves in the learning, they show up with voice, curiosity, and confidence. Thank you for being here today. Let's keep empowering our students to read, think, and thrive using Newsela.
Thanks so much, Juvie. That was incredible. And I know so many of our educators watching today are just blown away with ideas on how they can use Newsela as well. I'm with you. One of my favorite features on Newsela is the annotation as well. The fact that educators and students can annotate directly online and have that information tracked and even communicate from student to teacher is amazing. What an awesome connection, along with everything you said about culturally responsive content. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to go ahead and now introduce our next speaker. Next, I'm going to introduce Zaretta Sanders Howard. She has so many different certifications, but I'll give her a chance to explain how she makes an impact every day and how she can inspire so many of you.
Hi, it's good to be here. And she's right, Cara's right. I do have a lot of certifications. So I've been using Newsela for a very long time. I'm a Newsela certified educator. I've been through the Newsela teacher trainer course, and I've also been a Newsela fellow. And currently, I serve as a Newsela community coach. Today, we're going to talk about how I support the teachers in my building with using Newsela in the classroom. So, one of the things that we've done is created a school-wide impact for literacy and writing in our building. And one of the ways that we've done that is that I convinced our principal to purchase Newsela ELA for our building. And the reason why we chose Newsela ELA is because it has the largest library and it also offers support for all of our reading programs in our building. The high school that I serve has a max of 2,200 students. Of those 2,200 students, 40% of them are English language learners. With using Newsela ELA to support that, one of the things that our teachers find really, really important at the beginning of the year is to have some type of baseline data for our students. So with that entail, we use the reading skills check to give us that baseline data for the beginning of the year. And so with the reading skills check, they're by grade level. There are several articles that are included in the reading skills check, and the students only have to read 3 of those articles. And the quizzes for those reading skills checks are a little longer than the actual articles. So they're somewhere between 8 to 10 questions for those articles. And sets a baseline for a Lexile level for your kids so that you'll have that reading level for them at the beginning of the year. And then as they continue to read throughout the year, as long as they're taking quizzes in their platform, then that data will change along with them. And that's how you get that just right reading level for the students as they're continuing through the year. And it also gives you that baseline data throughout the year as they grow. It's also a good tool for small group instruction. So as you start looking at your data, you can figure out the skills that students are struggling with. You can group them by reading level, you can group them by skill level, you can group them by whatever it is that you're focusing on, whatever that reading skill is. So there are several opportunities for instruction using the data that you get from that reading skills check. The next piece that we use is part of our ELA curriculum. So we use Savvis My Perspectives as our text in our building, as our HQIM. And so when you go into the curriculum complements in Newsela ELA, you will see that there are several textbooks that are aligned, and Savvis My Perspectives is one of those texts. So we use those units in the curriculum complement to introduce background to our students, to practice on skills that will be covered in those units. And so one of the great things about the curriculum complements is that they also come with lesson sparks. And when you open up that lesson spark, there are a lot of different strategies embedded for teaching vocabulary, for activities that you can do for before reading, during reading, and there are also extension activities there. You will also see that there are blue hyperlinks in those lesson sparks. And when you click on them, there are actual worksheets and strategies and video clips that are tied to the lesson that will help support what you're doing in the classroom. We tend to use a lot of those strategies with our English language learners to help prepare them for the content they're going to cover inside the HQIM. And it helps us to track that data to see how well the students are performing on those individual standards and skills and strategies. And so this is one of the examples of some of those worksheets that are in there and that you'll see. Like this one is a vocabulary worksheet, which works really well for English language learners as they're pulling out the new vocabulary that comes to them. And out to the side, you'll see the lesson sparks, and they show up on that right-hand side. But at the top, you'll see that blue link where you can open it up into a whole page by itself. So you can just get the lesson spark on a whole page with all the different strategies and skills and activities. And so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The information is already there for you, and you can be used with any of the articles or strategies in the unit. You can also decide if you want to use other articles, some of the articles, one of the articles, or you can leave it up to the students and give them the autonomy to choose an article that's tied to the content or the topic that you're going to be teaching. So it's a really great way to support our HQIM, what we're already doing in the classroom, and our Tier 1 instruction. And it gives us a way to also pull extra data in on what we're already teaching.
Thank you so much, Zaretta. That was incredible. You're not only an amazing leader within your school environment, clearly, but also inspiring so many today with ways that they can utilize some more of the features on Newsela. Lesson Sparks are available on so many articles and in so many collections. So definitely when you're looking through on your own, when you log in as an educator listening in today, go ahead and click that little arrow, explore these resources. Zaretta loves them. I think you'll love them too. Thank you so much for joining us, Zaretta, and for sharing your expertise. Awesome. I'm now going to introduce our next and final speaker today, Madison Geiger. She is going to speak about Newsela writing. So for those of you with access, I'm so excited for you to hear from her directly.
Hi, I'm Madison Geiger. I teach 6th grade language arts at Union Elementary. I know you've been bombarded with a ton of information just about Newsela and all the great things. So I want to give you a second to kind of process all of that. This is going to be my 10th year teaching, and I feel like I finally have found something that really takes a lot of responsibility off of my plate and puts it back on the students' plate, giving them opportunities to practice writing, grow their confidence, and really stop asking that question of, can you look at this and tell me what I need to do or what I need to add? So Newsela writing is one of those things that takes things off of your plate. So I have a pretty wide variety of students that I see. I have gifted students, I have ESL students, and then I have regular on grade level students. And I think that it's so hard for us to find something that's going to grow each individual kid. We only have so much time to plan and deliver instruction. And Newsela writing was presented to me this past year for the first time. And I will be honest, I was skeptical because I felt like this is just another thing you're giving me to try to solve a problem. And I was happily surprised at how much I really and truly enjoy using it. So one of the things about Newsela writing is that it is an add-on to the Newsela ELA. So if you don't have this right now, I would strongly encourage you to talk to your principals or your administrators, your district, to get this, because it really does show how students can improve on their own without you having to go in and sit down with each individual student, read multi-paragraph essays, and by the time you might be grading them by hand, they may not even be relevant to the student anymore. So this is a really great way to, again, give those students opportunities to think within themselves and take that responsibility, take ownership of their work. So I went through this whole process of looking for things to use Newsela writing and how I can incorporate it into my classroom. And I put together kind of a little slideshow to show my building teachers kind of how I use it and what I was planning to do with it, how it was working for me. And I think it went over pretty well. There were a lot of teachers that came to me later and said that, you know, this really did help them work with a small group while the rest of the class might be working on the same thing independently, being able to pull those small groups. It's really versatile because you can create your own assignments. You can choose passages for them to write either a paragraph or an essay response to. You can also use resources that are already made for you, which I think is a great thing. It gives you a lot of feedback and gives you a lot of opportunities to look at the rubrics and how they're being assessed. Students are able to see how they're doing kind of in their own time. So I think that Newsela writing has a lot of compliments to what we were already doing in our classroom, and it just helped to simplify and streamline a lot of those procedures. So especially if you use that race strategy, that was one of the things that really drew me in, was the students are able to apply some of those writing techniques that we've already taught, and just giving them a little bit of a boost in certain areas of their writing. So during the third quarter of our school year, we decided that we were going to use this to create our own assessment. We wrote our own prompt that was given to us by our curriculum, and we decided to have the students write their argument essays about the Two Roads novel that we were reading, and they did amazing. It really took me by surprise to see how many kids were able to write more using this Newsela writing than when they were able to type it in a Google Doc and share it to a peer, or to be able to share it to me as the teacher and ask me, again, the million questions. What can I do differently? Is this good enough? Did I write enough? So being able to write your own prompts and have the students respond to them is incredibly beneficial for me. So this is just showing the prompt that we specifically used for our curriculum. The students had to write multiple paragraphs arguing if Cal should return to the Chilagi Indian Industrial School or not. They had to use evidence from the text. They had to support their evidence with reasoning. And I think that this was one of the things my students really enjoyed. Was it didn't just show them, here are things that you can do better, but it also acknowledged the things that they were doing really well. So on the side of the prompt, they're able to see these little rubric meters and a sentence checklist, and it gave them sort of a non-numerical evaluation of where they fell on the writing rubric. So the writing rubrics are all based on the state that you're in. So for us, we're in Ohio. These are the same rubrics that our students are going to be assessed on the air test or our state test at the end of the year. So being able to use this as an additional measure for practice, helping our students get prepared for the state test and writing, it also is great because it's not biased. I think as teachers, we sometimes will see a certain student's name who tries really hard but just really struggles, and we might be a little bit more lenient with them and say, well, this looks great for that person, or they've improved so much since the beginning of the year. They only wrote one sentence and now they're writing 4 sentences. But on the state test, they're not going to do that. So I think this really helped my students grow, not only in their writing, but just in their stamina, in their ability to persevere through things and improve what they were working on. So when the students are writing, they're able to get that immediate feedback. So if you use specific words in your regular writing instruction, like you want the students to have background information or give context, you can choose those words as you're creating your prompt for the students to respond to. And then it'll highlight those for them. It'll show in various colors and labels. Here's your background. Here's your reasoning. This piece of evidence here, responds to this prompt, or it addresses the prompt. Here's a statement that you gave that is a summary. So I think that's really good too for the students to see in real time what they're writing and not just kind of guess. And the thing I really like about that feature is you'll always have those kids who go, well, I don't know what a summary looks like, or how do I know what background information is? And so the students can click on the checklist and click that learn more button, and it not only gives them an explanation of what reasoning is or what background information is, but it'll also give them an example of what that looks like. So you don't have 30 kids coming up to you asking you, well, what is reasoning, or what does it mean to address the prompt? What is evidence in this context? How do I use evidence? What does that look like? So I think that's really helpful for, again, giving you some time back. You can sit with a small group. If you notice that there are some kids who are like, I don't know how to cite evidence. You don't have to address the whole class. You can pull those students to a small group while everyone else is working independently. And if they need some kind of assistance or they need support, there are places in their work that they can go and get that support. The rubric is also great. Like I said, it's attached to your state's writing rubric. So the students can see, am I more in the green of this area or am I more in the red? Do I need to improve on this or do I feel like I have a good sense of this? And the same thing applies here, that they can click to get very specific feedback about their own work. That was probably one of the biggest challenges I had as a teacher, was how do I give specific feedback in a timely fashion for, when you're teaching 3 classes of 25 plus kids. That's a lot of reading. That's a lot of feedback. That's a lot of how do I keep it straight in my head without mixing up what this student wrote and this student wrote when they're writing about the same topic. So giving that very specific feedback, I think, is something that is invaluable. There's no other tool I have seen that does something like that in real time. So if this is all feeling a little bit overwhelming, like I said at the beginning, I know this is a ton of information, but really and truly, this is something I believe wholeheartedly has changed the way that I teach, the way that I run my classroom, the way that I support my students. So if you are like, I want to try this, but this is overwhelming, I don't know where to start, there is a really great library of resources. We use EL education in our district, and there are tons and tons of resources available that align with our curriculum. And you can search by the grade level that you teach. You can search by specific genres if you're working on a certain type of writing, like informational writing or narrative writing, argument writing, all of those things. So I would strongly encourage, if this is something you have access to, take a few minutes at least to just kind of browse through and see what's there and try it. Try it with a small group of kids. Try it with one kid. Because you might be surprised at how quickly your mindset changes from this probably won't work to where has this been all my life.
Thank you so much, Madison. That was incredible. I remember when I was teaching 4th grade, what we did to kind of address some of these writing strategies is have students write on paper and then take crayon to color code each part, and then sometimes even cut and reorder. And then I had this huge pile of papers that I would bring home, and if I got to it would grade, or sometimes it would take me a couple days. By that time, like, some of my feedback wasn't always the most relevant, and the way you describe how you use Newsela writing on a daily basis completely solves that. So I hope that those listening today kind of have the same takeaways that I do. And also just seeing teacher created materials like you showed us today with the video that you created, right? Madison created that video that she shared out with her students and her colleagues. What a wonderful way of sharing your knowledge with those in your school. Just such an awesome kind of experience for us to run through. And I just want to thank you for sharing that with us. All right. We're going to go ahead and move forward to share some new things with you all, and then be able to wrap up with next steps. So something very, very exciting is to help support all of you. We have some new features available on Newsela. One is very, very exciting new feature. It's our AI-powered graphic organizers that are available now to all users. So you can go and explore. On an assignment builder, you'll see an ability to generate a graphic organizer, and there's pre-populated content right there based on the article that you have a graphic organizer for, but you can go in and edit and add more information to make sure the content's most relevant. You can print or assign online to match your students' needs. This is one of our favorite new features. We're also introducing Luna. So Luna is the cutest astronaut you've ever seen. Luna is our AI-powered teaching assistant, and it is July 30th today. Tomorrow, Luna is live. So come back, log in to Newsela with your school or district credentials and see how Luna is starting to pop up all over Newsela to support in an AI-powered way. Now, some next steps to keep the momentum going and to help you start your school year strong. You can join our community. So I'll leave this page up for just a moment so you can scan our QR code so you can connect with fellow educators like those who are here today. Also, when you're thinking about getting started with Newsela this school year, have fun with it. As you heard from all of the wonderful educators today, they use Newsela in a variety of ways to make sure that content and resources are culturally responsive, connect and support many teachers within a school, and also use Newsela writing. One way to get started and to get your students excited is to engage in one of the reading challenges you find on the homepage when you log in. Students are able to get coins and badges for how much they read and engage in the quizzes as well to get some practice with the platform as they can build upon and promote student voice and choice with choosing articles themselves as well. For you to continue your professional development, we have brand new foundational courses that are bite-sized 30 minutes you can do in a prep period. So in the chat, you'll see a certification link. Highly suggest you bookmarking this for later, or if you're so excited to get started right away, as well as have an opportunity to become a Newsela certified educator. Congratulations on joining today. We're so happy that you all are here. If you'd like to continue professional development or share out resources with your fellow educators, we have upcoming sessions as well. And I want to give you all just a moment to reflect on all of the information that you've heard today. So I have a final question for you to reflect on and add in the chat, which is this. After hearing from our wonderful educators, Juvie, Zaretta, and Madison, you've gotten a chance to get a lot of practical tips and strategies to start this year strong with Newsela. What's one takeaway or one learning or one favorite feature that you want to try this school year? And I'm excited to look at the chat and see what takeaways you've had from these teachers today. I know we're all typing. I know one of our favorite parts is some of the new features, as well as hearing how educators are using annotations and lesson sparks and curriculum complements. I know someone said only one. No, you can add more. You can add as many takeaways as you'd like. All right, so from the chat, I'm seeing collaboration with the team to curate text sets. That's an awesome feature along with writing. Knowing that people will use Newsela writing after hearing from Madison today. Some educators want to try the AI graphic organizers. Those are really great and really connect with the articles directly in Newsela. The diagnostic tools, reading check, yes. And if you log into Newsela, you can get all of that data readily available on the top bar. Looking forward to using the highlighting feature. Yes, Not only do we have annotation features, we also have guided highlighting. We didn't have enough time to dive into every feature, but do take some time before the year starts to explore. Reading skills check, lesson sparks, Newsela writing, lots of Newsela writing. I love hearing that. And differentiation across different subjects. Awesome. And the bite-sized PD. Yes, our 30-minute foundational courses are going to be amazing and help you earn those badges and certifications to continue your professional growth. There's so many more here. I wish I could read them all out loud now, but thank you so, so much for joining. We're so happy you're here. We appreciate it, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everyone.